Referendums on local council Māori wards to return. Now, binding referendum on Māori wards to return. So the minority in the community, Māori are one of them, I think about 14%, are now going to be dictated to by the majority. And this is the thing I always say about minority-majority conversations. Just remember, you watching, whether you align with us or not politically, are a minority somewhere. Somewhere in your life, you're a minority. Are you a pensioner? Pensioners are minorities. You know, are you a dog owner? Dog owners are minorities. You know, if all of a sudden 84% of the population voted a binding referendum as to where and when dogs can be, dog owners would be up in arms, even though they're a minority. Always going with what the majority says is also sometimes known as mob rule, and sometimes doing what a minority want or need is still the right thing to do, let alone there is this contractual agreement that Māori have with the Crown to be able to have these guaranteed spaces meaning seats, as opposed to, you know, at Auckland University being a KKK. So we're going to have a look at this, but do you want to pick up anything I've just said there, Chewy?
I have a strong heebie-jeebies when it comes to any sort of referendum involving race relations or recognition of the rights of Māori in this country, because it becomes a majority rule sort of thing. And yay, democracy, but when it comes to race relations, you want to, no, that's not what we have here. That's not what the treaty is for. So yeah, to see them go this, and they'll crow democracy, but the council have already made their decisions. They've already gone through the process, and it just seems like central government's reaching over the top, going, sorry guys, that's not in our playbook. Get fucked. So yeah, it's not good.
One of the things you'll hear in the story, I think, is obviously David Seymour's not happy about the timeline, but the timeline might be 4 years away. So, you know, if this really does affect you and you vote on the left, you'll have a chance for this to be repealed once another group get in at the next election, should that be what happens. Right, let's have a look at the story though. Mikey Sherman, basically mostly just as a piece to camera, explaining everything about it. Let's have a look.
Reaction's been swift and strong after the government today outlined plans to reintroduce referendums on Māori wards. It sparked outrage from the organisation representing local councils. Some say the move opens up the gates of division, with racist groups using it to stir up anti-Māori sentiment. For more, let's cross live to our political editor, Mikey Sherman. What more can you tell us about this, Mikey?
Well, this is all part of the coalition agreements between ACT and National, New Zealand First and National, essentially bringing back the ability to challenge Māori wards established by local councils via a referendum if 5% of voters demand it. Now, at the moment, there are 35 Māori wards across councils across Aotearoa. Another 13 is set to be established next year. Under today's moves, most of those would now require a referendum at a cost to taxpayers, at a cost to ratepayers. Essentially, those are around $100,000 each. Now, the local government minister, Simeon...
So, for those of you who are a bit slower than me, if there's 35 of them, that's $3.5 million. Just remember how much this government wants to save when they're talking about millions, right? How every penny counts. But when they want money to push through their agenda, all of a sudden it's there, and it's not a problem. Remember, I'll play for it at the end, but we have Mr. Luxon on record talking about how every dollar counts. Every dollar counts.
In Brown, he said this is about restoring the rights of communities. However, the Green Party has labelled it a racist step backwards. Te Pāti Māori says it is modern-day colonisation. And the Labour Party says these referendums, they stir up division, fear and even violence in and amongst communities. Now, as for the local councils themselves, the Wellington Mayor, Tori Whanau, she has issued a statement saying this is an example of central government overruling local government decisions.
How about that? That's actually a really important point. You know, this is overreach. This is the thing we've been saying often about this right-wing government and many around the world, they talk about smaller government. They talk about less interference. They talk about, let the local bodies, or in America it'd be let the states decide. They do it themselves. Yet when they get a chance to do something on a national level that fits their narrative, they push it through. When central body gets to, remember, Three Waters, we do not have central government dictating to councils what they can and can't do. Right now, though, we're going to have central government making a law, making a rule, making referendum available. So they are dictating the terms that then can get a controlled figure or a controlled factor within local body politics as well, Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the turnaround on this of like, yeah, we can't have government overreach, taking away the rights of the council. And then as soon as they're in, they're like, no, we're taking away your decisions. We're going to take this away from you.
We know what they'll say. They'll say, well, we're giving them the right for the locals in their council to decide, but it's still centralised government pushing their way through. And as I said, remember, $3.5 million.
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
So just remember, when you say it, Mr. Luxon, we'll keep playing it back to you.
Keep that in the pocket for later. We're going to need that again.
We'll do.
As for Local Government New Zealand, here's what they had to say.
Complete overreach by the government into a matter that local government's more than capable of being able to deliver for its communities. And it really goes against the rhetoric that we heard from the coalition partners heading into the election, whether they wanted to champion local decision-making and localism. So, yeah, hugely disappointed.
You've been covering the story a while, Mikey. Fair to say the coalition partner's not entirely in sync on this?
Not entirely. Last week, One News revealed a cabinet leak which suggested that there was a bit of delay around all of this. We understand that the ACT Party position is they would have preferred for these referendums to come in a lot quicker than what they are, but that National and New Zealand First, they both disagreed with that and essentially won that arm wrestle. So at the moment, there will be no referendums happening until October next year. That is when those will take place. And even then, the results of those referendums in October, they will not come into force until 2028. So current Māori wards, they will be around for another 4 years at least. And you could say David Seymour's supporters and even the man himself will not be happy with that. In a statement today, the ACT Party leader said he would have preferred to see the immediate restoration of democracy. Unfortunately, in a coalition government, compromise is constant.
There you go, Chewy. So remember as well, Christopher Luxon opened this door. And anything that opens, that comes through that door and breaks, Mr. Luxon owns. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the reasons that Winston and Luxon want this process slowed down is they realise what a hand grenade, a lit hand grenade this will be when it comes to coalescing the left against the government. And I guess, I mean, not to say we have to respect him for, but I guess you got to say, Seymour is being true to his values. It's like he's being true to his values no matter what. He's like, this is it. This is what we want to do. I'm not going to say got to respect that, but I guess you got to acknowledge that he seems to be the only authentic in his revolting position, but the authentic one there, sticking by what he wants and not having to negotiate out everything and water down everything because what they promised is not really what they want to do. Chewy.
When we talk about Rimmer and we talk about this sort of stuff, we talk about something that we've talked about before and we'll continue to talk about, is that his links to Atlas Group and what Atlas have done in other jurisdictions around the world. They have stirred up division along racial lines between colonial structures and governments and indigenous governments and organizations. And that is what we're seeing there. This has his fingerprints all fucking over it.
Yeah.
And look, I'm glad it has this long timeline. We have to fight this the entire time. Like, we can't just let it slide. People need to stand up and be counted for this sort of stuff. I feel decades of work and progress eroding away week by week with these guys.
Yeah.
This is like, this is the coalition of consistency, and unfortunately, they're consistently cunts.
And I guess if you're non-Māori, remember, maybe you need to stand in the middle, be a buffer. Just saying.